Hello, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to this other live with Senora Sarah. Today, we're talking about what is it like living in Mexico City as an American. Remember, I've been in Mexico for 10 years, and for most of that time, I have been here in Mexico City, which you can see here in my beautiful background today. And I want to share some topics, just some thoughts with you about what it's like living in a foreign country as an American. As always, make sure you check the chat. If you are here live, let us know where you are tuning in from. If you're watching the replay, thank you so much for being here. You can comment below the video, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if anyone has any questions about Mexico City or travel to Mexico City, life in Mexico City, my personal experience, I would love to hear it. Also, I'd love to know for anybody that's in the chat right now, let me know how the sound is. Can you hear me okay? All of those wonderful things, all right? So welcome. Before we jump in, I would love to invite you to visit my website, senorasarahsclassroom.com. We'll be referring to that a few times throughout today's live. senorasarahsclassroom.com. I've been doing a lot of exciting updates. There's a blog now. There's tours available. There's actually some of my videos are there on the website now. So it's really becoming a very robust site to find all things that you need about Mexico City. So thank you for joining us this evening. I also have an exciting thing I'm going to share with you later on about some of my kids' classes this summer. So if you're interested in that, or you know somebody who might be interested in kids' classes for kids' Spanish classes, stay tuned because I'm going to share a really exciting thing I'm sharing. If you're here, just type in the chat box if you can hear me okay. I'm using a new microphone, so I just want to see if it's all right, if you guys can hear me. And also, of course, I'm going to be taking your questions today. So if you've got questions or just things you want to know, if you have a planned trip coming up in Mexico, or just generally things you want to know about Mexico City, that's what I'm here for. That's what these lives are for. If you're watching the replay and you got questions, check it, pop it in the comments below, okay? So I've prepared a little bit of a presentation just in case we don't get a whole lot of questions. That can happen sometimes. So let's jump on in. Thank you for coming. The first thing I want to talk about is the good stuff, the pros of Mexico City. And you can see a lovely picture there. Actually, no, you can't. Okay. Bear with me. Bear with me. Present. Here we go. Thank you so much for your patience, everybody. Okay. I want to talk about some of the pros of Mexico City, but also I want to just talk about like why I even came here and what a big difference it made in my life as I'm trying to figure out my technical issues here. So let's see if I can here we go. Okay. So I came to Mexico City, as you know, like 10 years ago. Hi, Asael. Nice to have you. I came to Mexico City over 10 years ago. Asael, let me know in the comments, in the chat box now, if you can hear me well. Please give me a yes or a no. I mean, no, if you can't hear me, you won't comment. So I came to Mexico over 10 years ago. I was in a situation where I was in my early 20s. I worked in an office. I wasn't happy with it. I was like living paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, man, what am I even doing here? I was single, in an office, in a job I hated. And I was like, where's my life going? You know, I didn't want my entire life to just be going to some stupid office, working 9 to 5 with people I didn't even really like, a mission I didn't care about. And so I visited Mexico just to get to know Mexico. I had no intention of staying. And when I came, I fell in love with the place. I made friends. I realized I could come and stay, and I did. And I've been able to spend more time in volunteer work, which is near and dear to my heart, because I can work less and live here in Mexico. Now, I understand that that's a privileged position to be in. I don't want to be insensitive to the life that the everyday average Mexican lives. Most people in Mexico got to work long hours, 6-7 days a week, just to make ends meet. But in my case, because I come with a different currency, of course, I'm able to work a little bit less. Kind of just enjoy a life that I enjoy more rather than just going paycheck to paycheck and living every day to go to work. So that's one of the things that I'm loving here. Also, again, if you can hear me, please type it in the chat box. I really need to know if you guys can hear me. I'm going to actually type it now because I'm not getting any answers. Please let me know if you can hear me in the chat box. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the pros of Mexico City. So one of the top pros in Mexico City definitely is the weather, and it's finally back to what it should be. Give me a hoot. Yes. We were going through a heat wave for about 2 months. It was absolutely miserable, but now it's back to what it should be. And that is thank you, Steve. That is a very big pro of Mexico City. Yes, Steve, let me know how you feel about the weather right now. I'm loving it. We're back down to like 67 degrees Fahrenheit. It's awesome. The weather in Mexico City is a big surprise for a lot of people. A lot of people don't expect it. They think it's hot. Mexico, they just think hot. But remember, Mexico City's super high in the mountains, and so it's not a super hot place usually. So I really do love the weather in Mexico City. The next thing on my list is the community aspect of life in Mexico. So that's one of the things I love, especially as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, at the beginning of this live, is that when I came to Mexico, I came as a single person, and now I'm happily married, thankfully. But it was kind of hard. The culture, at least where I lived in the U.S., is very kind of, everybody kind of stays in their own little groups, and I didn't have my group, so it was hard to be happy in that environment for me. But Mexico is a very like community aspect kind of culture. The more the merrier, especially if you come by yourself. They just kind of take you in, and it's really, really, really wonderful. And also, like the cities, the towns are kind of built around that aspect, right? So everything is walkable, which is nice. Everything's kind of built, even the little towns, not just Mexico City, but the little towns, everything's kind of built around a public square where people actually go to hang out and enjoy themselves, which is really neat. I love just going to the parks, even like this place you see in the background. This is Bellas Artes. I'm going to type that for you in the chat box. Bellas Artes. It's a beautiful place, and it's a concert hall, art exhibit. It was one of the first art museums in Mexico City, but it still has some art. But it's just a beautiful place to visit. It's a great example of public spaces that are really awesome, where people actually do congregate. And I think the weather lends itself to that, because it's usually nice weather and very predictable. So you can go out and enjoy the outdoors because it's not freezing, and it's not going to be this really crazy weather. Let me know in the chat box if you agree or disagree with what I'm talking about with some of the pros of Mexico City. And also it's cheaper, of course, I'm talking about people from the US, from Canada. Typically, Mexico is a cheaper place. Now, we could get into a whole tangent about that, right? There are places that are more expensive. If you're in, like Steve, in Condesa is a more expensive area. If you're in Polanco, you're going to pay through the nose for things. But most places in Mexico are cheaper than things in the United States, especially when it comes to healthcare. Whoa, I mean, the healthcare prices are crazy. If you have any questions, remember, this is all about you today. If you've got questions about Mexico, about your trip coming up, about life in Mexico, let me know. Paul, thank you for your comment. Very interesting. Paul says, I live in Oaxaca and have been to Mexico City many times. Cool, Paul. But tell us what you like or dislike about Mexico City. I'd love to hear about it. Also, Oaxaca is really nice. If you're watching the video and look at Paul's comment right below me here, it says, you see the Oaxaca. That's pronounced Oaxaca, everybody. I know it looks like Oaxaca or something like it. No, that's Oaxaca. I love Oaxaca. It's a beautiful place. If you've never been to Oaxaca, you guys should definitely go. It's really, really cool. I've seen some great ruins in Oaxaca, good food, really good mole. Thank you, Paul. Thank you for tuning in also, Paul. I forgot to say that. Very nice. Okay. Also, remember, I am going to share something about my Spanish classes for kids coming up. I've got a super awesome promotion. Even if you don't have kids, you might know somebody that has kids that might want to do this. So please stay tuned. We're going to be around for about half an hour today. Okay. Next thing about pros of Mexico City. The last thing I put on the list here is access to everything. I like in Mexico City that you have access to everything that you want. So if you're a foreigner like myself and you really want to have like ingredients that you're used to, you can't find everything, or just access to transportation or access to really good Amazon service. I saw a friend that did a video about that today. Mexico City is where it's at. I lived in a small town in Mexico for a few years, and I found myself constantly needing to come back to Mexico City to either travel or buy things that I needed because I couldn't find it where I lived. And Mexico City has just everything is accessible. And if you miss any type of food, most of the kinds of food that you want are here. I haven't really found great sushi yet, but if you're looking for the ingredients that you're looking for to make American food, or whatever food you want, or a restaurant with foreign food, you can usually find something acceptable, at least in Mexico City. Paul has a couple other comments for us. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, the parks are wonderful. You usually stay near Alameda Park. Yeah, guys, if you're wondering what that is, Alameda Park is actually around this picture that I have in the background. It's basically the central park, but not comparable to Central Park, Mexico, in New York City. It's one of the main parks. It's really, really pretty, and I think it's about 500 years old. It's really nice. We have a question from Erica Goldberg. Thank you for joining us today, Erica. Thank you so much. Is it hard to move to Mexico City or Mexico in general? Boy, that's a loaded question, Erica. I would say moving to another country is never going to be an easy process. Yeah, it's difficult to move. I mean, I think for an American, moving to Mexico City might be one of the easiest places that you could move to, because there is still a little bit of that connection to the U.S. You still get some U.S. influence. And in Mexico City, especially if you don't speak Spanish, there are some pockets where there's more English speaking, but you still have to deal with a lot of the trouble of immigration. They're still adjusting to culture and challenges, which we're going to talk about here just in a minute, some of the uglier things about Mexico City. And then Mexico City has challenges because it's a big city. So if you're not a city person, you're going to find challenges that you may not love because it's being a city. If you have a specific kind of question about, like, what are you asking, let me know. Like, hard to move. Do you mean, is it hard to find work? Or, like, as far as working, most people that I know that move to Mexico City already work just online, which I do too. If you're interested in teaching online, I can help you get started with that. I teach Spanish online, which we're going to talk about soon. And we also have another great question from you, Erica. Thank you so much. Erica says, hang on a second. First comment. Sorry. Erica says, what's the latest on the H2O situation? So if you don't know what Erica's talking about, Mexico City is going through a major drought. And I wish I had a really good answer for you, Erica, and everybody else that's interested in this topic. I can only tell you what is happening with me personally, living in Mexico City with the water situation. Why? First of all, let me address this question. Because the water situation, like, it's not clearly explained even within Mexico City. So the government, some people say it's really terrible. Some people say it's fine. You definitely do see evidence, and I know people personally that are lacking water in their homes. I've heard of some lacking water. I've heard others say that it's just because it's election season. Elections just ended a few weeks ago here in Mexico, that they were blowing it out of proportion to wield more political power. So what is the latest on the H2O situation? I would love to know. Here in my home, we have not lacked water. And we also have a cistern, and many people in Mexico do, because the water problem has been a problem for decades. And so even if water was to stop flowing to our home, we would have water for approximately 2 months anyway, because we have a cistern. And that's the situation with many people here in Mexico, but that's not to minimize the problem. There are people that don't have water coming to their homes. But for the most part, I don't have a problem, and I don't think most of the touristy areas don't really have a problem. So that being said, yeah, you said you didn't notice it being a true issue when you're there in April. Yeah, and I don't live, by the way, people that are watching this, some people criticize because they see that I'm white, and they might think, oh, you must live in, like, Polanco. No, I live in Iztapalapa, okay? That's like the hood. And this is one of the areas of Mexico City that if there's water lacking, this is where we lose it first. I live in the poor area, okay? And we have water. I'm not a rich girl. So, yeah. So that's the best answer I can give you on the water situation, but it has started to rain. So we're so happy about that. So happy it's raining. Yeah, referring to work, Erica, if you want to send me an email, I would be happy if you're truly interested in working teaching online. I'm not going to lie, it's not easy to get started, but I would be more than happy to coach you. I'm going to put my email in the chat box right now. Give me just a second. And this goes for anybody. If any of you are interested in teaching online, if you're truly willing to like build your own business teaching, or if you want to teach English, it's not great pay, like $10 an hour on English. Teaching, building my own business. I build it on OutSchool and I earn somewhere between $45 and $75 an hour, but I busted my butt to build that. I'm not going to lie, okay? So here's my email. It's in the chat for anyone that's live, or if anybody, watching the replay wants that. You're welcome to email me if you're interested in learning how to teach online. I would love to help you. I've been doing that for 10 years. Okay. Paul, thank you. You came to Mexico in 1968. Wow, you've got so much experience in Mexico. If you have any nuggets of wisdom to share with us about living in Mexico, I'd love to hear it. Mexico's economy looks great for the next 20 or 30 years. I'm not an economist, but I can say just living in Mexico, it does seem like things are on the up and up. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody. I love these comments. You guys have good stuff coming in the chat box. I also wanted to get to, okay, everybody wants to know, what's the cons of Mexico City? Well, if you have any cons about Mexico City, pop it in the chat box. I'd love to hear, or in the comments down below if you're watching the replay. Here's some of my cons about Mexico City, and this really, everybody, is cons with any big city. So this is not really big on Mexico. This is any big city in the world. Things I hate. Traffic. Woo! The traffic in Mexico City. Boy, I'm happy I work from my house. Just to get into the city center, it takes us an hour and a half on a good day. The noise is pretty crazy in Mexico. Now, I live in a pretty little quiet corner over here, so I don't have to deal with it too much. But it can be pretty annoying. There's a lot of noise, and it's not just city noise. It's like Mexico has a big noise culture. Let me know if you know what I'm talking about in the comments or in the chat box. But the noise culture is real in Mexico. I mean, there's always somebody outside with a cart and a bullhorn or a megaphone or some big old recording and big speakers blasting that they're selling tamales, and the trash guy comes with his bell and ringing it super loud. And there's the right out front of our house, there's a market, and there's a butcher that loves to crank his music at 8:30 in the morning, which I know I should be up at 8:30 in the morning, okay, but sometimes I'm not. That's the beauty of setting my own schedule. There's a lot of noise, and people are just kind of used to it. I've gotten more used to it, but the noise can be pretty intense. I put trash. There's a couple of issues with trash. So, first of all, big cities, there's trash around because it's a big city, and people are hogs sometimes, right? So they're throwing their trash around. This happens in the States too. All right. It happens in any big city. But also it's kind of hard to figure out how to get rid of your trash sometimes. It's a system where there's a trash truck that comes and you don't know when they're coming, and it depends on exactly where you live. I used to live in the city center near the background picture that I'm showing you, and the trash truck would pass several times a day, so it wasn't such a big deal. But where I live now, the trash truck comes any random day, always when we're not able to run outside, and you got to go out like a maniac to catch them. Because they're supposed to wait, but they might not. And then you got to hope you catch them to get your trash out. And then your trash accumulates. So the trash can be a real pain in the butt. If you have anything that you don't like about Mexico, let me know. Ooh, Erica. Okay. Talking about noise. Stayed in Reforma and you didn't notice an issue. It's relative and you're used to city noise. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Erica. It's relative. And I'm from West Virginia. And so I'm from the woods. But where I live actually is super quiet. The wind, right in front of me, less than 5 feet in front of me, the window is open right now and there's no noise. It's super quiet. So this is completely relative and it completely depends on where you live. Absolutely. Or where you're staying. But thank you. Thank you for sharing. If you have any recommendations about where to stay, Erica, let me know in the chat, because a lot of people ask me that question. If you have a hotel that you're like, oh yeah, that one was really nice, let me know, because I've never stayed at a hotel in Mexico City. And people ask me all the time where to stay. Well, I don't know because I live here. I don't stay in hotels here, right? So yeah, help me out with that. I'd love to know that. And then the last thing I put on the list here is safety. I'm going to talk about safety, but I'm going to take a quick swig of water here. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns about safety in Mexico City. I would love to hear what you have to say. All right. Thank you. So safety in Mexico City. Now, remember, I've been here for 10 years, and so I've very much gotten used to just living here. And also, I think I have kind of a sheltered life in that I don't really go out much. I just pretty much stay in my apartment. I work online. I have everything here I need. I've got my husband, my 9 doggies. So, okay, thanks, Erica. So I don't go out much, but like I said, I don't live in the ritzy area, and I feel pretty safe in this area, except for at night. And even at night, like around my immediate home, it's fine. It's just I wouldn't want to be out like on the metro really, really late at night. And there's definitely certain pockets of Mexico where I think are not super safe. But honestly, I've never really had any trouble with safety, but it's a little bit more of an issue than I would say than it was back in like West Virginia or Pennsylvania, but it's more like being pickpocketed. Anyway, if you are thinking about visiting Mexico City, would you ever consider it? If you are watching the replay or you've never been, let me know if you really want to visit and why in the comments or in the chat box. And Erica has a comment that says, mixed bag here. She stayed at the Sheraton Maria Isabel. Mixed bag, but it wasn't too bad. Okay. So that was okay. Thank you. Thanks, Erica. I really appreciate it. All right. I wanted to get into this big thing I keep talking about. This is the big offer I have. Remember, I'm an online kids Spanish teacher. I promise I'm going to keep this portion of the live short, but I cannot skip sharing this with you. It's only for this weekend, a little bit later, depending on which class you want to sign up for. But I'm an online kids Spanish teacher, and anybody that signs up for my kids Spanish classes for the summer camps, these 2 classes that you're looking at here, they have a chance to win the entire academic school year of classes. That's $1,000 of classes for $10. Everybody that signs up for these classes, I'm entering them in this raffle, okay? So scroll up in the chat. I put links to both of these classes so you can check them out. And even if you don't have kids or you're not personally interested, share those links with somebody. And if you have nieces, nephews, grandkids, a friend that has kids, share them with somebody so that we can get them in this raffle. And they don't have to sign up for the $1,000 of classes if they don't want to. I don't know why you wouldn't. But yeah, go ahead, share this with somebody that you think might be interested. I have been teaching for 10 years. I know what I'm doing when it comes to teaching Spanish. So share this, please. And as I promised, it will not be a long portion of the video. This is just a little piece. I also put this in the pinned comment below if you're watching the replay. Of course, if you're watching it super in the future, it's over. But as long as it's over like summer 2024, try those links, see if they're still working, because I am setting up different classes all the way through August, okay? Let's get back into the content about Mexico City. Some people ask me, do you miss anything? Do you miss anything about the United States? Now, you probably see the picture of my favorite junk food in the world. If you are a foreigner living in Mexico or in another country, pop me a comment or in the chat box, let us know. Is there anything that you miss about living in the United States? The first thing I would say, which might seem funny to you, but is definitely American junk food. I miss American junk food. Look, the food in Mexico is amazing. I love the food in Mexico, but I really do miss the junk food in the United States, especially Cheez-Its. If you know where I can get Cheez-Its in Mexico City, like real Cheez-Its, like the ones in the picture, not the Cheez-Its snapped. I want the real Cheez-Its. Let me know, please. Or American anything, but I'm not willing to pay exorbitant prices. I'm willing to pay a little bit more, but not exorbitant, okay? Anyway, I also miss organization of things, and this is something I put organization. I miss how, like in America, things just kind of have a structure and a flow. Like if a business has its hours listed online, you know it's going to be open at those hours, right? And you can't rely on that in Mexico. Now, for the most part in Mexico City, it's pretty good about this, but not always. I'll give you an example. I wanted to go to McDonald's before. Okay, make fun of me. The gringo wants to go to McDonald's. I know. But even McDonald's doesn't open always at the exact hours that it says. It really depends entirely upon the individual like manager and the employees. But for the most part, Mexico City is pretty good about this stuff. Also, real quick, I just want to put in the chat box a link to a video about Mexican street food. If you are interested in learning more about some Mexican street foods and how to order them and what they're made of and stuff, there's a link in the either the chat box or the live chat replay. Check it out. We've got a comment. Ooh, let's see. From Erica again. Hey, thank you, Erica. I love these comments. This is what makes the live so exciting. Okay, lived in France for more than 15 years ago. Yeah, you understand about missing American junk food. You thought you won the lottery when you found Oreos. Yeah, I mean, and people might think that's funny. Like, I know there's got to be somebody watching this judging, right? Judging us and saying, why don't you just enjoy the local food? And we do. I love the local food, and I'm sure the local food in France was awesome, right? But, you know, you don't know until you've lived that situation, and so I totally get you. Oreo. I'm not a huge fan of Oreos anymore, but I know what you mean. Like, Oreo McFlurry in Mexico City, though. Guys, they put chocolate syrup in it. I don't remember them doing that in the U.S., so I love the McFlurries. A couple of other things. You enjoyed those croissants? Yeah. A couple of other things I miss about the United States. I lived on the East Coast, so I really miss autumn. I miss the changing of the leaves and the whole, just the smell of the leaves, the colors, pumpkin spice season, although they do have that a little bit here, but it's not the same. Like, if I go to a Starbucks and I want a pumpkin spice latte, which I can get one here, but it's just not the same. And then the last thing I added was peace and quiet. I really miss peace and quiet because I'm from the woods and you just don't have that too much here. So I really miss that. I do want to remind you, if you're interested in seeing about tours of Mexico City or a blog about different things when it comes to Mexico, visit us at SenorSarahsClassroom.com. I have put it in the chat box a couple of times because I have people coming in and out of the chat. It's not to spam you. Please don't think that. I'm just trying to benefit everybody that's coming. All right. I'm getting hungry. Woo! And I think this is like the end of my slides today. I did not prepare tons and tons of information. So I'm just going to come back to me. And let me know if you have any questions about what it's like to live in Mexico City as an American. Anything about your experiences, my experiences, trips you have planned, anything else you want to ask before we wrap it up for today. I'm going to take another quick swig of water and just see if you have any comments coming in. Thank you all for joining me, and thank you if you're watching the replay. This is your opportunity. If you have any further questions, now's the time. Thank you for being patient as I take a drink of water. I talk a lot, don't I? I forgot, as I'm waiting for your comments and your questions, I wanted to talk about maybe my scariest experience in Mexico City. I have a couple. The worst one, and I'm going to have to make a video about this. This is for those of you that are still here. My worst experience was actually one time, and remember, I've come in and out of Mexico many times. One time when I was entering Mexico, I encountered the nastiest immigration official at the airport. I mean, she was downright verbally abusive, and thankfully she didn't put her hands on me, but I actually filed a formal complaint with the Institute of Immigration, and I got a letter back from the Mexican government several months later stating the laws that woman broke because of the way that she treated me. I don't know if she was fired or not. I certainly hope so. But man, that woman, I mean, she seriously was like taking people's passports and practically throwing them across her little kiosk, screaming. She was screaming at everybody in Spanish. Most people didn't know what she was saying. I did. She took my things and like was shaking it and throwing it across her desk and like screaming. I looked like this because I was like, what are you doing? She was just so hateful with my things. And then she started screaming, "You go to the back of the line." And I just looked at her like, are you kidding me? And then the woman behind me, this was a line of all people from the US. The woman behind me was like, what did she just say? I was like, she screamed at me to go to the back of the line because I was shocked that she was like throwing my passport everywhere and like screaming at me. And then she was a short little thing. She turned around and she was like, you need to learn how to behave yourself. I told you to go to the back of the line. I mean, seriously, I was so angry. I was like, I am going to physically harm this woman and go to jail if I don't calm down. So I decided to just listen to her. I did go to the back of the line because I was going to kill her. So a lot of prayers. And I ended up being assigned to go with another immigration official who was also like shocked at her coworker's behavior. She kept looking over like absolutely shocked because it was absolutely illegal what this woman was doing. Completely illegal. I ended up getting out of there without any further trouble. I got my stamp to get into Mexico, no problem. But it was bad. It was really, really bad. Ooh, okay. Paul, thank you. Anybody that's wondering about coming to Mexico Paul says, we take the ADO to Mexico City. Yeah, ADO is a bus, everybody. If you don't know what that is, it's way better than anything I've ever experienced in the U.S. And it's really nice. If you are wondering about taking the ADO, it's a nice experience. Paul, if you can confirm what we're saying, let us know. But I've taken the ADO many times, and I was really impressed with the service. If that was the worst that's happened to you, that's pretty good. Well, I've never been kidnapped or anything. I'm also extremely cautious, so yeah, that's one of my nastiest experiences. But, telling the story, it doesn't sound that bad. But when you're in the middle of that situation and you don't know what your rights are, and you don't know if you're going to be allowed back in the country, you're wondering if you're going to be detained or put in jail or something, even though I didn't do anything wrong. It was terrifying, I have to say. It was absolutely terrifying. Now looking back, I realize how I could have handled it better, but it was really scary. That was one of them. There's other experiences I have too, but that's for another live. Yeah, city smarts are essential. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining me today. We have come to the end of it. I really appreciate all of you. If you have not subscribed yet, please do. Hi, Lizzie. Thank you. Let me just address Lizzie's comment. She says, I'm about to visit for the first time in August. I'm both nervous and excited about the trip. I've been overthinking everything. Love your videos. Lizzie, I'm an overthinker. I totally understand you. I'm a teacher, so I plan everything. Lizzie, if you have any questions about Mexico City, if you scroll up in this chat, you can see my email. I'd love to answer those questions for you. And yeah, I do love the audio. The only thing is, if you don't speak Lizzie, if you don't speak Spanish, it might be a little bit of a challenge because the announcements are, how the announcements are in an airport, right? It's even if you speak the language, it's kind of hard to hear. Same thing in the audio stations, and so you might not hear the announcement, or you may not understand it because it's like not really clear, not loud enough, a lot of ambient noise. So just be aware of that. If you don't speak Spanish, you might at least want someone there with you that can understand what's going on. But other than that, it's a really nice experience. Well, yes, a visit to Coyoacan is a must. Eric, I'm totally with you. Coyoacan is amazing. I think I did a video. My Turibus video had a little bit of Coyoacan. If you have any comments in the about where you would like to see or what you want to see here on the channel, please comment in the live right now or pop it in the comments below this video. I want to make videos that you are interested in, and sometimes I don't know what you're interested in. Okay, so please let me know what you want to see. Thank you for being here. If you've not subscribed, please do. I plan on providing lots of quality content for you. Hey, I've got a Spanish class coming up, and I got to eat something beforehand, so I got to get going. But thank you so much for joining me all today. Lizzie, Erica, I see my commenters. Paul, right? Sorry if I messed up your name. Paul. Guys, really, and Asael was here with us too. Thank you all for joining me. I plan to do one of these every other week. And stay tuned on Monday. There's going to be a new video coming on Monday. Thanks, everybody. Hasta luego. Goodbye.